what is it with the medical profession of late, or more particularly the nursing profession? Left-wing lunacy has gotten so out of control that we now have, as of this moment, licensed medical professionals publicly advocating poisoning federal agents in their care. And when they get caught, their colleagues don't condemn them. They set up fundraising campaigns to make them the victims. This isn't a dystopian novel. This is a state of radical cultural Marxism, DEI, in 2026. Stick me to the very end of this video because we're going to discover precisely why the healthcare system that's supposed to heal the sick is instead turning into a left-wing activist training center, and how the radical ideology infecting these institutions might already be infecting the one treating your family right now. Hey gang, it's me, Dr. Steve, your Patriot Professor, here to help you make sense of the madness with breaking news and analysis you're not going to get anywhere else. So make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. Meet Melinda Crook, a nurse anesthetist who apparently lives in an ideological echo chamber in her workplace. That's because she felt completely comfortable with uploading a number of videos to her TikTok account encouraging healthcare colleagues to basically poison ICE agents in their care.
I thought of something good. I think it's something weird spot. Sabotage tactic, or at least scare tactic. All the medical providers, grab some syringes with needles on the end. Have them full of saline or succinylcholine, whatever. That will probably be a deterrent. Be safe. Okay, for today's resistance tip, I vote, anybody got any poison ivy, poison oak in their yard? Get some of that up with gloves, obviously. Get it in some water, like a gallon of water. Get the poison ivy oak water, and I'm gonna put it into a water gun. Aim for faces, hands. Or the single ladies where these ICE guys are going have a chance to do something, not without risk, but could help the cause for sure. Get on Tinder, get on Hinge, find these guys. They're around. They're an ICE agent. Bring some X-Lax and put it in their drinks. Get them sick. Nobody's gonna die. Just enough to incapacitate them, get them off the street for the next day. Highly easily deniable. You could get sick too. Won't eat there again. I'm just saying, let's get them where they eat. Somebody's not going to be supporting these guys. Where's the hotel where they eat? Who makes that breakfast? Let's find them.
Now, that is the very definition of a psychopath. There are more videos of her doing that I'm not even showing you here. That was just the tip of the iceberg. That, my friends, is a psychopath. That is the kind of lunacy that left-wing leaders tap into in order to deliberately radicalize people like that. I mean, we talk often on this channel about the work of the Polish psychologist Andrzej Lobachevsky and his study of what's called political ponerology. It's the study of political evil. Poneros is the Greek word for evil, and he studied European leaders for 40 years, particularly European leftist leaders, I should say, particularly European Marxists. And he concluded after 40 years of study that these leftists were all psychopaths. And when psychopaths take over, they inevitably usher in a government that Lobachevsky called a pathocracy, where you have a whole group of psychopaths with borderline personality disorders occupying positions of power and influence. And when they come into power, the entire society goes hysterical. That's leftism in a nutshell. That's Minneapolis in a nutshell. It's a bunch of psychopaths that usher in a pathocracy that turns the entire society hysterical. But the problem here is that this pathocracy isn't limited to assuming seats of government authority. It can involve leadership in the professions and the credentialed class as well. And that is where DEI comes in. I think it's very important for us to understand why the professions, the credentialed class, have gotten so radicalized. Because this nurse obviously isn't alone. And I'm not talking about Alex Preddy. I'm talking, you probably heard about the labor and delivery nurse, Lexi Lawler, at a Boca Raton Regional Hospital. She, too, posted a TikTok video saying that it would bring her great joy to see Caroline Levitt get a 4th-degree tear in giving birth to her baby. Now, if you're not familiar with obstetric medicine, a 4th-degree tear is the worst severe injury a woman could go through with childbirth. I mean, it was absolutely sick. And again, a total and complete violation of the Hippocratic ethical standards that govern the medical industry. But what we have to understand is that this radicalism actually runs directly through what's called the Human Resources Department. If you don't know, back in 2011, President Obama signed Executive Order 1358-3. It established a coordinated government-wide initiative to promote diversity and inclusion and equity in the federal workforce. So it's basically the birth of DEI, and it brought the force of the federal government on the accredited professions like healthcare. So what Obama basically did is he set up a compliance structure that enacted DEI hiring standards and training standards all throughout the professions. And the key department that functioned as the liaison between the private and public sector was the human resource departments. They functioned as the enforcers, as it were, of imposing DEI standards. Again, not just in hiring, but in the actual training and accreditation of professionals. And what you just saw there was the rotten fruit of what happens when people get radicalized by this stuff. That she was not, that nurse that you saw there advocating the poisoning of ICE agents, she was not radicalized by Tim Walz. She was radicalized by some human resource department. Now, unfortunately for her, Melinda Cook, again, this nurse advocating poisoning ICE agents, those videos went viral. And what happened next is going to absolutely make your day. Take a guess at what this is. This is absolutely amazing. I'll give you a hint. The older we get, the less we hold on to heat. So imagine being stranded in a broken down car in the middle of the night and having to walk for help. You know, a simple rainstorm, even in the summer, that could mean hypothermia. And so that is where this little beauty comes in. I'm going to bring it out. I kid you not. This is a full-size, heat-reflective emergency sleeping bag that actually fits into the palm of your hand. I've never seen anything like it. It's absolutely amazing. And you heard it right. I mean, it's an emergency thermal sleeping bag that can keep you warm down to Arctic temperatures. It's waterproof. It's windproof. It's bright orange, as you could see, so you could be spotted in a disaster. And look at this thing. It's like 7 feet long, 3 feet wide. It's incredible, but it fits in your glove compartment. I've never seen anything like this. Sierra Madre, the genius creators of this emergency sleeping bag, made it small enough to fit in your pocket, your glove box, your junk drawer, your go bag, whatever. But it packs such an amazing punch. I sweat in it anytime I get into it. It's amazing. And I made sure to get a whole bundle of them for all my family to keep in their glove compartments. And now you can too. This week, the Patriots over at Sierra Madre have to clean out their warehouse before a new shipment arrives for the new year. So they're marking these puppies down over 59%. So you heard that right, 59%. Click on that link below and get one each for your whole family and save a bundle before the sale ends. Oh, and I almost forgot, the 10-pack, it ships free. So you're double your savings. So don't wait. I mean, these aren't available in any stores or big box retailers. And the only place you can get this warehouse clean out deal is if you click on that link below right now. I'm delighted to inform you that nurse, that anesthetist, has been officially fired. She has been removed from her duties at the Virginia hospital at which up until yesterday she had worked. After the videos went viral this week, thanks, by the way, to the wonderful X account libs of TikTok, VCU Health placed Cook on administrative leave and launched an investigation with VCU police. Less than 12 hours later, the hospital terminated her employment and confirmed that they had reported her to state authorities. Legal analyst Russ Stone has told local media that prosecutors most certainly could potentially charge Cook with solicitation to commit a felony offense. And she's not alone in her unemployment. That so-called nurse who wished ill on Caroline Leavitt, she too has been fired, and her medical license has been stripped. But we need to underscore here that until human resource departments are reined in, this problem is not going to go away. The medical establishment in particular has spent 15 years pushing diversity, equity, inclusion programs, DEI. They push gender ideology into medical schools. They push racial consciousness raising into hospital training. And what we're seeing now are the results. Healthcare workers who've been trained to see the world through a lens of ideological struggle, for whom political enemies aren't just people who they disagree with, they're now existential threats who need to be harmed, poisoned, or destroyed. It's technically known as ideological capture, which refers to when professionals, institutions, or regulatory bodies abandon their core mission, whatever it is, truth-seeking, right, objective expertise, patient's care. They abandon that objective mission in favor of pursuing ideological or political agendas. Recent scholarship defines it as occurring when educated professionals circumvent more democratic processes and codify new regulatory frameworks that consistently and repeatedly marginalize important public values, like, in other words, I'm here to help everybody, in favor of expert class ideological preferences. It's a fancy schmancy way of saying that a number of professionals are using their professions as veneers, as weapons for pushing an ideological agenda. They're disguising themselves as experts when, in point of fact, their expertise has been recruited for political activism. So it's how medical professionals who took an oath to first do no harm seek to do only harm on their political enemies. I mean, you might remember when President Reagan was shot back in, I believe it was in 81, and he was about to go under on the operating table, and the last thing he said to the surgeons before the anesthesia kicked in was, "I sure hope you're all Republicans." Now back then we could laugh at that, because our professions had integrity. They had public integrity. A professional, by definition, was one who operated and practiced objectively for the public good, for the public as a whole, irrespective of one's political partisan leanings. What DEI has ultimately infested our professional class with is rabid, radical ideology that tells them that it's their moral duty to resist and, if possible, eliminate racial, bigoted, sexist oppressors. They have an obligation to use their profession as a force to enact social justice. And the end result of that lunacy is the very lunacy, the very psychopathy that we saw on display in those videos. So the good news is that the good guys are cracking down on this. But until we fully crack down on these human resource departments, the infestation of this insanity will continue to be snuck in through the back door.